Okay, so MOUZ, this MOUZ, are going to Stockholm. They actually got a 3-0 in the second stage and are going to the LAN as favorites. Spirit is with them, and Foot is going to their first playoff in the big event in their career, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And they just won against G2, who were big players for that part of the tournament. And also, we have to say, FURIA is not there too, right? I don't know if that was expected or not. I think it was, in a sense, because they knew Fallen was not going to be there, so why even bother, or something like that. But anyway, I mean, these are the major finalists who just got knocked out in the second stage of an EPL, which is weird.
I think FURIA expected it. I don't know if everyone else did, but FURIA were playing like they didn't expect to make it to playoffs.
I also think we're giving them way too much of a pass there, though, because, like, FURIA, you can afford to say, oh, we don't care about this tournament if you've been doing things in, like, any other tournament recently. But, like, I think FURIA are just taking their foot off the gas.
Yeah, this is online. Fallen's not going to be there. I can give him a pass for this one. I won't give him a pass for anything else. I can give him a pass.
Also, I don't know how Sid would look in the stage, right? I mean, can you imagine the coach playing in the big stage against, like, MOUZ, for instance?
If I was a coach, though, that would be my dream. Like, you'd be like, we've got to make it to the stage. I've always wanted to play on stage as a coach. Like, there's no pressure on you because nobody expects you to be any. Do you remember when, like, was it Hardstyle stepped in for Eternal Fire? And he was like Gold Nova or something. They just gave him an SMG and let him run around. That would be my dream. I'd love that.
It's always brilliant when the non-coaches, the non-ex-player coaches do it as well. Like, I remember once, I think it was Kassad stood in for Renegades, and he was like some level 8 on Face It at the time. And it's always hilarious when that happens.
Exactly. Did he use a pink mouse?
No, he assuredly did not use a pink mouse.
Okay. I just wondered, yeah.
So let's go into the receipts and let's dive into what is going on.
Okay, yeah, sure. We'll get right into it then, because as many of our viewers may have seen, I wrote an article recently explaining sort of the history of roles in Counter-Strike and how different, what I call models of roles, have developed over time in responses to different meta shifts, different team styles, and so on. And obviously, I proposed our solution to a modern set of 5 roles in Counter-Strike. And I basically just wanted to go into detail a bit more about how it's constructed specifically and answer some of the questions that I was given. So the best place to start is probably with a team that we all know and love and or hate, FaZe Clan. So if you look at this graph here, the overall roles one, with the star points on CT, star points on T, what I've basically done here is, as I explained in the article, like, we're taking the physical positions where the players play on CT per map. So, like, if you're connector player on Mirage, you're going to be, quite high. If you're an AWPer, you're going to be the highest. If you're, like, short, you're going to be a little bit lower than the con player, and so on, all the way down to, like, your Bianca, who's clearly the worst. And on the flip side, for the T side, we're ranking them based on whether or not they're, like, a supportive element that's, like, throwing util and running in first to die, or whether they're, like, trading and able to be like one of these star opener types. So the 2 axes are basically just that. Like, higher points basically means better roles, more resources. You're more set up to succeed. And in this case, like, I don't know if you would agree, but it definitely kind of checks out with my eye test. Like, on the CT side, and maybe not so much on T.
Doing up there? Why is Brokey up there? Why is he in the messy spot? The
all
top right of any
are,
graph,
to be fair. Like, unfortunately, the nature of having an AWP
scroll down
is just that you end up in that top right.
All right,
or maybe fortunately, I don't know. But, like, yeah, on average, AWPers have about 1,000 equipment value, like $1,000 of equipment value more than.
I suppose, yeah, that's part of it, isn't it?
So yeah, you just, if you're an AWPer, you get sent to that top right, like, by default. But the more interesting ones for me are, like, how...
Are there any AWPers who aren't? Sorry to be...
Are there any who aren't? Yeah, there are a couple. One of them is Youngster, who is obviously like a hybrid right now. And yeah, he's not really an AWPer by trade, if you know what I mean. And also some AWP IGLs. Like, I don't know if Macca's still IGLing or if that's still with Gravity. Like, one of those two is AWPing. I can't ever remember which. But Macca is famously a much more supportive AWPer. And anyway, so what I like about this is that it essentially tells you who's more of a star on T side, who's more of a star on CT side, who's maybe like a star overall, and who are the sort of more supportive elements. And one thing I actually really dislike about FaZe is how supportive Frozen is. I've been banging on about this for a while, but like Frozen is touted as being, you know, the best player on FaZe. He is supposed to be the one that's putting up the big numbers. You know, if when FaZe choke finals or whatever, like everyone knows that Brokey's terrible, and so the player that they go after is Frozen, right? I hear so many people calling him a fraud. And the one way in which I do agree he is a bit of a fraud is he seems really unwilling to like take charge in FaZe and just accept the responsibilities, especially as it gets later into tournaments. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but as soon as he's in like a playoffs match or something, he's like, oh, guys, I'll throw the flashes, I'll throw the smokes, you go in and do the work. I don't like that from a player that's meant to be like a top 10 player in the world, you know? So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So a friend of mine who's really into the NBA has always said about LeBron that as brilliant and like, you know, as good as LeBron is and always has been and is historically, he like famously in really big clutch moments when he's supposed to be the guy, he passes a lot. He doesn't take the shot, the clutch shot, the game-winning shot, like a lot more than other, like, you know, if you're talking historically, like Larry Bird would always take the shot when it was, you know, whereas LeBron would actually pass it a lot. And I get that same feeling from Frozen. It's definitely something I've noticed before. It's like, he doesn't play like he's as good as he is. It's something Apex used to say about ZywOo. He's like, ZywOo, you're the best player in the world. Why are you, like, let me go in for you. Let me do this for you and you go and kill everyone. And obviously, eventually, ZywOo's figured that out. Which Frozen's had a lot of time on this team. And it frustrates me as well. I feel like some of it is a system thing. Obviously, some of it is a system thing. But also, some of it has to be a personal thing because, as you say, the bigger the game, the more noticeable it is. Although they're actually pretty good in big games, so maybe he should be more supportive. Maybe they need somebody who's a bit more Yukindar.
Yeah, maybe one thing to note on that as well. This is all of the way that this is built, the star points on both sides, is completely performance agnostic. So it doesn't care about the numbers you're putting up or like your actual output on the server. It's all just using stylistic things. And so maybe to go into a bit more detail on that, the next graph here is about utility. And here we're just honing in on two. It's just smokes and flashes. And this data for this is from all the tournaments going back to Blast Bounty, the LAN portion. So this is like 4 tournaments worth now. And you can basically see that like Jacob in the bottom left is just not doing any of the supportive work. He's not really throwing any flashes, smokes, whatever. Twist, Brokey, and karrigan are sort of, they're sort of like quite grouped together actually. It's actually quite common in these graphs to see like your IGL just far top right. In this case, I don't know if it's because Twist was an IGL for Liquid, so he's still got like a bit of IGL instinct in him, or if it's because karrigan is obviously like someone that likes to go in and entry himself quite a lot. But yeah, there's not like one clear supportive element on this team. Again, this is all just details from the T side, but next graph I'd like to point out is looking at lurking and aggression. The people that have followed my work before might have seen this before, but I like looking at, instead of just opening kills, something more like the order that players take fights in their team. So if the opening duel is like fight number 1, there's still going to be like fight number 2, 3, 4, 5, right, in some order. And basically, if along the bottom here we've got T aggro score. So further right means you're taking the first duels. Further left means you're taking duels sort of later into a round. And clearly here it's like, you know, Jacob is meant to be their sort of entry/opener player. karrigan actually, again, is doing a lot more entry work than your average IGL. Like, he's quite far on the right there. And then Frozen, Twist, and Brokey is a massive beta. That's one thing that I want everyone watching this to take away from this. He's like, you think about like the Omega beta AWPers. You've got like Shiro, whatever. Brokey is like further left than some of these. So yeah, I don't know. Thoughts?
I mean, that matches everything I've ever seen of him, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think I don't know if I've told this story on this podcast, so shut me up if I have. But we spoke to Launders once on a podcast, and he told me after Katowice he wanted to do a whole week of Brokey demos, and after 3 days he was like, "This guy's terrible, but I don't want to watch anymore." And I think that's why. Like he is just a massive beta. And when he was in the zone and he was winning all these clutches, it was like you could forgive it. At the moment, he's just not that guy. It's not worth it. What I find interesting is as we go through the rest of these, is FaZe generally are further left than a couple of other teams. Like I just scroll down to the 3D Max, and like I feel like the average aggro score is just higher, which again does match with what you see of 3D Max. It's very like death ball-y. But I think that's quite interesting that there's not like it intuitively. I would imagine like every team would have like an aggro score combined of like the same amount, and it would just be distributed differently. That's not exactly how it works.
Yeah, roughly. Like, obviously, some teams are a bit more aggressive than others, but aggro score will roughly, like, average around 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Brokey neither lurks nor is aggressive. It's just like, it looks like he's not doing anything, which, again, is kind of fair.
He's 5th to take a fight. So think about, in an average round, Jacob is taking a fight first, karrigan is slightly behind him, Frozen and Twists are like playing the mid round, and then Brokey's like meant to be set up in these clutch situations, and that's the average FaZe round. And that's just like, you think about the value you get from an AWPer these days. It's like going for opening picks on Dust 2 and like taking the mid fight, or going con with an, like, I don't know, I feel like your AWPer should be way more involved than this. I'm not a Brokey fan these days.
I think you can get away with it if they're as good at clutching as Brokey used to be. If that AWPer is Shiro, who's insane in the late round, if that AWPer is Oscar back in the MOUZ days where he was just like god tier in post plan, like Oscar didn't lose post plan. Brokey isn't doing that, so he's like, he adds nothing because he does nothing in the mid round and isn't a late round deep. I would like to draw a rectangle between the 2 lurk score and the 2 aggro score and call it the blame F zone. But actually, Brokey is far more representative of that zone, because actually Blame F has evolved a little bit to be a bit more aggressive. But in my head, he's still the prototypical doesn't lurk, isn't aggressive, only takes a fight last. But actually, Brokey is he probably is the biggest beta in tier 1 and 2 Counter-Strike.
This is a little bit off script, but I want to draw your attention to Vitality's version of this graph, because I think it's really interesting. I've just put it in the bottom of that.
Wow.
Okay, Rops breaks the chart with how lurky he is. He's like right in the top left corner. But whatever. Just to compare it, Flames is obviously their opener. Yeah. Yeah, whatever, man. Zywoo is the second to take a fight on average in Vitality, and he's the most aggressive AWPer by this metric, by the way.
He is also. I will say he is a hybrid. I would say.
Okay, but you say that he doesn't have the AWP that much less. Like, AWPers here that are like hard AWPers have it about 50% of the time. Zywoo is sitting pretty around like 0.4. Like, he's only having it about 10% less.
Okay.
It's just that he's just doing more.
10 percentage points, I should say.
10 percentage points.
20% less.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But he's just doing a lot more, especially on the T side. And
yeah, I do think maybe like he is. When I watch Zywoo, I think he's quite aggressive with the rifle and a bit more, but he's certainly more aggressive than like Brokey, and he does do a lot of work in the early rounds. I'm probably being a little unfair, but I don't like the French. I'm surprised, or as I say again, I'm going off script, but when I look at Molodoy, I actually expected his aggro score to be a lot higher, but I think it's the way he takes duels as aggressive rather than necessarily like nobody's going to be more aggressive than Yakindar on this team. But seeing K Serato second is not what I expected to see. Again, I'm jumping around here, but the K Serato is second to take the duel.
Yeah.
Like, that is not how I would have expected it, especially on the T side. Like, the CT side, I could see that because of the way, but T side, I did not expect him to be the second to take a duel. I think that's probably a large reason why FURIA have improved so much, is they're just getting more out of K Serato. Like, making him do more because he's really, really good.
Yeah, and we will definitely get to that, but I want to come back to FURIA later. Okay. I want to talk about a way more boring team first. 3D Max, because I've been getting a lot of comments asking about 3D Max, mostly because I mentioned that 3D Max is a problem for most like role models, and then I didn't mention how ours handles it. So yeah, shout out to everyone who DM'd or commented saying, "Where are 3D Max?" or whatever, like all three of their fans. Yeah, so if you look at the 3D Max graph, the top one with the star points, actually it's not that different to what you'd expect. Like, they've got the classic AWPA top right, even though Maka is like a little bit more supportive. You've got Lucky, who is something like their overall star rifler. You've got Misuta, the new addition, who is getting sort of more of the star rolls on the T side. The T side is where he's getting his work. And Gravity, their IGL, or I'm not sure if it's Maka or Gravity right now. I know they've been flip-flopping.
Liquipedia say it's Maka.
It's back to Maka now.
I tend to go by Liquipedia. They say it's Maka.
Because I know Gravity took it for a bit, and maybe it's gone back to Maka now. But either way, Gravity is something like more of a star on the CT side, and then Exercise is sort of just like their overall supportive player. One thing to comment, actually, because I haven't mentioned it yet, is that I've rebranded IGL to hard support, because I think it makes a little bit more sense. I don't know if you'd agree with this, but if you think about like Zwei, for example, like he's not actually an IGL, and I don't know, calling it like IGL-ish is a bit awkward.
I agree, because IGL isn't a in-server role as such. It's a sort of pseudo in-server role. Like it's a role that exists outside of the demo. If that makes makes sense to me. But basically what I'm saying is, like, not all IGLs play the IGL role. Hard support makes more sense, as you say, because there are outliers. And I also think even the IGLs that play like IGLs, well, like some of them get a little bit more. Like I haven't seen. Let me go back. I feel like Apex, Apex like probably gets a bit more in terms of positions than some. And Alexi B like takes connector, for example. Like, so there's a little.
He doesn't
bit more
anymore. He did used to.
He definitely used to. Yeah.
Alexi's an interesting case, because he went from being like more of an Apex type IGL in OG to being like one of the most like selfless IGLs now, like the jump spot B guy with an MP9 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on IGLs,
that wouldn't work for all IGLs, right? Because it's just not how it would go. Like, for example, Jame wouldn't be a hard support.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. It's like Zwei is their hard support.
Yeah, because there's like an IGL shaped hole that appears when you have an AWP IGL, or like a star IGL, like a Big Zero or whatever. So yeah, I think hard support maybe makes more sense. And the way that we're determining that hard support role, if you look at the next graph for 3D Max, again, the flashes and smokes thrown, we're basically just looking at the amount of utility they throw against the percentage of the time they have like a good rifle. So like we're essentially coming up with this ratio of how many smokes and flashes or whatever you're throwing per like having an AK finally, if you know what I mean. And the players that cluster towards the sort of top right on these graphs are always like, well, almost always the IGLs. Like in this case, it's Maka and Gravity, and you know,
the Sanji zone.
IGL. The Sanji zone. Exactly.
But yeah, I think from what I've seen as well, like it does make sense with Misuta. Misuta's actually been like really, really good. Like much better than I was. Like one of Misuta's only fans. Pause. I was one of Misuta's only fans. Like even on Vitality, I thought the guy was decent, and he was just so up and down. But he's like actually been something of a revelation. This 3D Max team looked dead in the water before this event, and they've been miles better recently. And yeah, I think like you see, Misuta doesn't throw any smokes. He's like a T-side, their most T-side star rifler. And he's actually getting output from what I've seen. He's really aggressive with it, which is nice. Like, it's nice when you put a guy in like those roles and he's like aggressive and getting something out of it. Like that's a really good. It sets you up so well. Like if your player with the most resources is being really aggressive and is top fragging, you're probably going to win.
This is what you want from your T-side star in CS2. You want someone that's not throwing as much utility, that's sort of willing to run in first, and that's just taking loads of gunfights. That tends to be like the T-side star role now.
Yeah. Speaking of which, should we go on to Spirit?
Yeah, we definitely can. So Spirit are actually different to how I expected, and I think it's because they seem to have heeded my advice, even though they definitely haven't heard it from me, about using Tanir as a bit more of a star instead of just like shafting him with resources. Because like Donk is obviously far and away their star rifler, like no contest there, right? But then you're looking at like who should be the next player in line, who should be like their X factor or whatever, and it should be Tanir.
Yeah,
you would want Tanir to be their like secondary rotator. They're like, if he's not a space taker, he's a trade fragger, you know, or vice versa. You want him to be that kind of a guy. And for whatever reason, like Zontix has been doing like some of the entry work, and like Zontix has been playing like short on Mirage and stuff. At least when the Magic Zontix swap happened initially. But based on this, it looks like that slowly stopped over time. Like Zontix is clearly just back in the worst CT roles imaginable, as you can tell by by how low down he is on this, right?
Good.
And he's still getting resources on T side. Like he's pretty close to the average, and Tanir is not that much above the average. So yeah, I don't know, but I like this move for Spirit over time.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like Tanir, to my eye, to what I've seen, is a better player than Zontix. He's a better fragger than Zontix. A better player is obviously subjective because Zontix can do things you don't want Tanir doing, and vice versa. Tanir should be more aggressive than Zontix. Zontix is a guy, like, it's always annoyed me that Zontix came. I was like, I deliberately don't aim at the head, so I'll never rate him for that, and I definitely don't want him being an entry player who doesn't aim at the head. Like it's just, your entry player should have the highest headshot percentage on the team because they have to take the most ridiculous duels. Like they have to take the hardest duel, so they should be a guy who hits the head. Ergo, Donk and Tanir.
Yeah, which skip ahead to the aggression graph for Spirit, and yeah, like Donk and Tanir are 100% like the two going in first, you know, and yeah, Zontix is getting his lurk spots. He's able to like, you know, move slowly around his part of the map, and Magix and Shiro are like, you know, they're kind of where you'd expect. Like maybe Magix is a bit too heavy in the throw util and not run at them department. Like you can definitely say that, but with players like Donk and Tanir, like I don't know, I don't think you need Magix to be doing like almost any of the entry work.
Yeah, Shiro is also narrowly dodging the brokies. Which goes into how much of a beta Brokey is. When Shiro isn't in your zone, you are very, very much a beta. Yeah, no, this is exactly what you'd expect. Donk, insanely aggressive. Tanir, not far behind everyone else. Like the chasm between Tanir and Zontix is very noticeable, and also probably explains their inconsistency because, like, if those two don't win their duel, you don't take a duel for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just in a 3v5 and nothing happens. You can see from the graph that their spacing is bad almost. But you can almost see from the graph that their spacing isn't very good. Because like if Tanir loses that fight, like on average they don't take a fight for him. So there's nobody behind him. Like when you look at like 3D Max, look at that. Look at how tight Gravity and Maka are together. How tight Exorcist is behind it. How tight that's what a pack should look like. Spirit don't have a pack. Well, they do have a pack, but it's the last three alive.
Yeah, 3D Max is definitely interesting in that way because they are like Masuta now is their run in and go kill people T-side guy, and then behind him it's like 4 players that take it in turns, you know. But they've always been like that. You're not going to beat that out of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're like the opposite of like FaZe when FaZe were good, where FaZe were just really like late round heavy. They had Rops, Brokey, and Twist in like the late round, and they had karrigan and Rain, who would be where Donk and Tanir are, and they would just lose the fights and they'd win 3v5 anyway. Spirit the opposite, but yeah, it doesn't seem very structured.
Yeah, so I guess we can move on to FURIA if we've got time. I'll probably move a bit faster through this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, FURIA are my personal idea of like what a team should look like. I like the way FURIA is structured because you've got Molodoi, who's like a clear star. You've got Keisarato and Yakindar, who are clearly like your 2 star riflers. And then you've got Yuri and Fallen, who are just like, they do what they have to. You know, Fallen isn't taking that many resources from himself. Maybe he's buying the odd AWP on CT side or whatever. But like, he knows that his job is to throw the flashes and to let his players cook. And kind of same with Yuri. Like, Yuri used to be this kind of second star to Keserato before they ever had like a good AWPer. But now he's basically taken a bit of a step back to be more supportive so that Molodoi can flourish. And when it works, it really works, right? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the way that FURIA is set up.
Yeah, no notes. They're packed much tighter together.
Yeah, completely agree. I just want to mention something that I was just like taking a look at. Is that we always think about how aggressive Donk is, right? And how much he's going into like just running into players. And here we can see Yakinder has almost the same amount of aggression. And that's precisely what I said in the last episode, I think. Yeki is playing some of the most aggressive positions in Counter-Strike right now. And when it works, it's brilliant because they just win, right? When it doesn't, okay, it doesn't, and FURIA kind of collapses, but this is just proof of how aggressive Yakinder is playing on these positions, just like rushing mid with an MP9 and just trying to kill people, and is interesting to see.
This is all relative to the pace of the team, of course, but yeah, like both Yakinder and Donk are first or second to take a fight, like the majority of the time.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy.
Fun player. Speaking of, I've just seen who's next up. And how sad it is to see Art so low on the aggro score.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Yeah, we can go over Legacy as well. Why not? It's the Brazilian special as usual on this channel. Yeah, so they recently made a change, right? They brought in Art for Lux, I believe. And Art is definitely like he's more in the camp of like Blitz and maybe old Blame F, whatever. Like he likes to take some more of the fragging CT side spots, if you know what I mean, as an IGL. So him and Lato is sort of like the only players that are maybe considered stars on the CT side. And Dumao is getting more of the work done on the T side. And Nissim is just like poor Nissim is all I can say. He does what he has to, you know, to make room for Art, but you know, it's been working really well for them. So, what can you say?
What I could say is, my old go Art would have been we would have broken the aggro score, like Rops broke the lurk score, and it's just sad to see him. If him and Dumao were swapped, I'd feel much more comfortable.
Yeah, now he's second to last to take a fight on average. So
Art should not be in the late round.
Yeah, I just like Art so much. Of like the style he plays is just so entertaining to watch, and also I don't know if you guys saw. I think it was on Mirage that he just like hid in the smoke and killed like 4 people with the USP and like going in and out of the smoke. That's just fun Counter-Strike. Like you don't see that very often, right? And that's just fun to see. And like you cannot imagine MOUZ doing something like that, you know. MOUZ would never do something like that.
No, that's why he should be aggressive, because you can't have him doing that in mid. It's just not normal. You need him like first man in. Like I miss the old Art on Vertigo where he'd be down ramp before the T's got there. He was the fastest man alive. I miss him. Bring him back.
I was so happy when I saw that announcement that Art was going to be playing at Legacy, because Legacy, like, they very clearly, I think, do have talent, right? They are very good players. And Art is someone who has been playing for God knows how many years, and like he knows what he's doing, right? And
well, that bit's up for debate. I think there was a long period of time where he did not know what he was doing. And certainly I didn't know what he was doing.
I think that Art has that X factor where he can get this, like he can still be him. He doesn't really need to change a lot of his style to guide new players. That's what happened back in Imperial, I think, or in in FURIA, even when he was in FURIA, he had like Henny and Vinny, and they were like just doing whatever, and he was like, okay, let's do this and do that. And like, I just think that this is like a Cinderella story. Like, it fits so well with Legacy and what they are doing right now that they're getting results, right? They played like 6 matches and lost 1, or 7 matches and lost 1. And I think it's just nice to see. It's fun.
Yeah, so like the only game they lost was to Aurora, which was like a ridiculous quad overtime first map. Just lasted. It lasted 5 hours, that game. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It lasted 5 hours, and they like finally lost. They then like smacked Monty, who are, you know, kind of whatever. I think the 2-0 over Astralis and 2-0 over Na'Vi, including the 13-4, is like seriously legitimate results. I know it's online. I understand that, but like, they have previous of like being good on LAN, and I am a long-time fan of Dumao and Lato. Lato, this event, so like some of the stuff he does with the rifles like breaks the Geneva Convention. Like, that guy is, when he's on it, he's ridiculously good. He reminds me of like Insani, where like Insani has this reputation of being a much better player than he is, because when he's on it, he's absolutely unstoppable, and then when he's off it, nobody mentions it. Lato's kind of similar, but like, they at least have Dumao, who's a bit more like, he can fill in that gap. And I think Sadzin has been, the games that I've watched of Legacy, Sadzin has been, looked like a real AWPer, which he hasn't at times. Like, at times I've watched Sadzin and thought, if this team had Molodoy, we're talking about a team in top 8. Like, whereas Sadzin has stepped up and it's like, okay, they're actually in a top 8 at an event, with however many caveats and asterisks you want to put on it, but they're in the top 8. And they're playing Aurora in the quarterfinal, which Aurora on stage is beatable for anyone.
I'm going to pull out the hater bingo card, and you've already mentioned one of the checkboxes, which is, yeah, this is an online tournament. And one thing I have that I will never be able to get over about Art is that I used to be a 100 Thieves fan, right? So I remember during the American, or NA rather, tournaments that were held online during COVID, it was always like 100 Thieves against FURIA in like the quarters, playoffs, whatever, and they would always lose. And then as soon as FURIA went back to LAN, Art fell off a cliff. His calling looked awful. He got found out really heavily, and he got sent, you know, down into the depths of tier 3 Brazil or whatever. And now all of a sudden he's honeymooning at an online event with some star players, star Brazilians again, and it's like, I've played these games before. I've seen this script before. I'll be cheering for them, because I also really like, especially the fraggers on Legacy. But the part of my brain that is grounded in reality just knows that they're not going to do anything on LAN.
But they're also playing Aurora, who don't do anything on LAN. That's the thing.
Yeah, but it's like every time we've seen Mongols play Aurora or whatever, like, eventually someone's got to lose, right? Someone's got to break the whole, like, we're terrible on LAN thing. So who do you think is less terrible on LAN out of Legacy? And like, probably is Legacy, right? I think I'd give Aurora the edge.
We'll find out in like 2 days.
Wait. I have the brackets here, okay?
Legacy play Aurora.
Legacy plays Aurora. If, let's just assume they win against Aurora, which would be yeah, but let's just assume they win. Then they have Spirit or Astralis. Astralis, a team they beat 2-0. But Spirit is also not really performing that well, or how they should, based on their players, right? I mean, Spirit, like, we can pretty safely say that the Spirit's ceiling is much higher than what they're doing right now. Is that a hot take?
They went 3-0. They dropped the map. Oh,
they went 3-0 playing against 3D Max, Bait, and G2, who didn't even qualify.
I know.
So none of the teams they played against qualified. Let me just put it that way.
I also think Spirit's floor is probably better than Legacy. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, Spirit's ceiling is this high, it's so much higher than but like, their floor is still like a top 10 team, whereas Legacy, you know, they're sort of around that mark.
I think Spirit's floor is probably about where Legacy's ceiling is on LAN. Like, I don't know. In my mind, at least, the odds of it being like a Spirit MOUZ grand final greater than any other possibility. Like, I think that's just destined at this point. If we get anything else, it'll be like a major shock.
I was actually writing... what I was going to say.
So I was writing the preview before this. I don't know if either of you are betting guys. I'm not really, but I was
not allowed
saying,
to,
like,
unfortunately.
Well, quite. But if you had to choose Spirit, MOUZ, or the field, who do you choose?
Spirit.
So, really, I'm kind of tempted to go the field, just purely because in an 8-team playoffs, there's just so much room for everything to go wrong. Like, there's just so much room for like MOUZ have FUT first up, and I know MOUZ are a better team. I know they are, but you cannot tell me you don't think there's at least like a 40% chance they just bomb it.
I don't. It's a quarterfinal. Like, MOUZ were like built to win quarterfinal games against lesser teams and then lose the semis. That's like they are constructed to do this.
Okay, but listen, FUT is this super aggressive team that just gambles every round. Okay, and they're playing against MOUZ.
A little harsh, but yeah. I think they're a bit more structured.
Okay. I might be a little bit like too harsh on here, but let's just follow like the narrative. Just follow my narrative. I need to be right about something. We are playing like FUT is this uber aggressive team playing against MOUZ, who is this super structured team, right? So there's a possibility something happens there. Like there's a gamble to be had here. Okay, good. I like the only team in this quarterfinals I can see Legacy losing 100% of the time is MOUZ.
They definitely lose to Spirit. They would just definitely lose to Spirit. This is unfortunate, but they would just lose to Spirit. Anyone else, they can 100% beat.
Okay, so MOUZ and Spirit. Okay, so let's just imagine on Saturday some miracle happens and they win against Legacy. I don't think, like, if we imagine that MOUZ gets to the finals, I don't think they can win against MOUZ because it's just like the absolute counterplay, you know? Legacy cannot handle MOUZ, in my opinion. I would like to be wrong about this, but that's just my opinion. But then everyone else, let's maybe exclude Spirit because you guys might convince me that they're just better, but they can beat everyone else. It's just
they can,
like,
but I also think outside of MOUZ and Astralis, everyone could beat each other. Like I was trying to decide like who I think is the favorite out of Mongols and Na'Vi, and I think I have like the Mongols like 52% and Na'Vi like 48%.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I think it's super close, and I think the fact that they don't have Mara might actually tip me 52 towards Na'Vi because I think Mara he's like really highly respected, and I think people think he's like a top tier coach, but you just never know a coach. And then like
for my money, I've got to go completely the opposite way and say like I think Legacy and Astralis are the two teams that I would put like in a bracket at the very bottom of all the teams in this playoffs. Like I think they probably are the least likely, along with Astralis, to win their opening game or get like much further than this at all. Really,
I feel like
maybe not their opening game because it's against Aurora, but
Legacy Aurora is like I think that's like 50-50. I really do think it's close. Like I don't think Aurora are that good at all. Like
but realistically, okay, Legacy, if they play Na'Vi, I think I'm taking Na'Vi comfortably. Yeah. If they play Mongols, maybe it's a bit closer with the whole no coach thing, but I still think I'm taking Mongols. If they play MOUZ easily. They play Spirit easily. Like, I don't know. I don't have them in high hopes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do think the difference between the third best team in the playoffs and the 8th best team in the playoffs is smaller than the difference between second and third.
Yeah. If you guys had to bet, who's winning this? Like, just one team now.
Spirit.
I've got a feeling Spirit beat Na'Vi in the final.
Same, but I think Spirit MOUZ.
Yeah, I think it's Spirit MOUZ, and I think it's Spirit MOUZ, and I think MOUZ wins. But I guess we'll see this weekend, right? Okay. So last thing before going out of this segment is I think FUT making a run for their money because I mean it's pretty interesting to see their matchups, right? Because they won against G2, which is like it's not nothing, right? G2 is a very good team, and they won against Bait and lost against 3D Max. This is weird to me. You lose against 3D Max and then wins against G2. Doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind, but anyway.
If you look at the teams they lost to in this, so they beat Astralis 2-0 in the first stage, and then they got absolutely smacked by them in the next stage. Hooksy did a job on them. If you watch that game, like Astralis know exactly what's coming at every turn. It's uncanny. They just know exactly what's coming. 3D Max similarly are really difficult to play against. I think they prep really well. They will find your weak spot and they will hammer it over and over again. The rest of the teams there are a little bit more loose. They're not as like keen to find your weak spot and bully it. When you like go in loose against Foot, they will just strangle you. Demon, was it Demon in the G2 game or the B8 game? It's absolutely absurd. Like he was just hitting every shot, and the depth of their rifle core is like as good as some top teams. The depth in their team is really really good. I think that's the difference when you look at like. When we look at Legacy, you have Dumao and Lato, and it's like your third best rifle is what? Art? Nissim? It's a bit of a drop off, whereas like Jugs is like their third best, and it's like he's really good. I think that's the key difference between them and the other underdogs. Foot versus MOUZ is a really interesting game. That's like not an easy one for MOUZ whatsoever. I think MOUZ would probably want to play anyone other than Spirit or Foot. I think they'd be happier. They'd be happier with Na'Vi, honestly.
100%. 100%. I think Foot is the antithesis of MOUZ, you know? It's just this young, super aggressive, let's go team against MOUZ who are just very German. They like their structure. And I don't know. I think it'll be definitely a fun game to watch. I think from the quarterfinals, I think is probably the most interesting game to watch and just see what happens.
I would agree. I was pretty big on Astralis, but I think they've been a little bit shafted by getting Spirit. They've got no chance to be in Spirit. But they've been so fun to watch. They've like no firepower, and they're one of the like top 10 teams in the world. Hooksy is genuinely a world class in game league.
Astralis have no firepower, you mean?
Yeah.
I think people are sleeping on Stair, honestly. I think he's so much better than people think.
Stair has been superb. He has been so good. But like they're getting so much work out of FaZe, who's like a good AWPer. He's much better than he was before he went and did his world tour. He's a miles better player. But like they're getting so much out of him. I think Hooksy might be like one of the best IGLs in the world. Like the level he's getting out of this Astralis team compared to like when you look at G2 and the level of like quality they have versus what Astralis have. And I think Astralis are a better team.
Yeah, I think G2 are a deeply upsetting subject for me at the minute.
Well, yeah, I don't want to go too far into G2 because yeah, they are upsetting. But
I desperately want to like G2, like desperately want to like G2, but
they're so Spursy. They're so like, Spursy.
There's something. I think there's something about Hunter that just makes that team impossible to work. Like Hunter's one of these IGLs that is like a massive resource hog, and he's also a bit of a beta because he wants to use himself as like a star rifler still. But yeah, I don't know. G2 is so handicapped.
Seriously, Hooksy actually fixes G2.
That's one take. That is definitely one take.
They need a resourceless, brain-heavy IGL.
To me, at least, like, I think I tweeted about this not long ago, actually, but G2 desperately need more supportive elements. Like, you've got so many aggressive fraggers, and you just do not have enough in the way of, like right now, if you want to fix G2, you make two moves. You get Snappy for Hunter, and at the same time, you get Shush for either MOUZ or Matisse. Pick whichever one you think is worse. I think they're immediately, like, a top 6 team.
You want supportive elements. You want Frozen.
No, no, not like a fake support, like a real one.
Said, he's too supportive. Let's turn him into a real support.
But I don't want
so
someone
we
that's
just
scared
say
of pixels. I want someone that, I don't know.
we'll just say in another
love
world,
what
Fallen for Hunter would be
Fallen for
the
Hunter.
silver.
Yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
there's no world in which you'd leave FURIA, right? But like, yeah, I would consider that an upgrade. To be fair, I think Hunter might be one of the worst tier 1 IGLs right now.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. That's completely fair. Why don't you want what have you got against Hooksy? He fits all of those categories.
I don't think. I don't know. I'm not a Hooksy fan, I'll be honest. I like what he's been doing with Astralis, but you forget he has had a long time to work with this Astralis. And I think this is another legacy example where it's like, oh, they're suddenly doing really well in an online EPL. Like, who could have seen that coming? And I
thought
guarantee
they
you,
were
as soon as we go back
good
to
on
LAN,
that.
it's like standard programming.
What was the event before this? Cluj Poker. Where okay, they only beat 3D Max and FaZe. I seem to remember them being better than that. It was 7-8 at Krakow as well. They lost to Furia. Like they go 50-50 with Foot, and like they do not have players as good as Foot do. I don't know. I do like Hooksy. I do think he's a very good caller. I do think he's also a bottleneck because he just can't frag, but he's never stopped karrigan. What about karrigan? Did you know? I'm joking. I'm joking.
Exactly the wrong type of IGL. Like,
I know.
karrigan needs to go to Falcons. karrigan fixes Falcons. He doesn't fix G2.
Yeah. He's a super team IGL. He's Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, now that you say that, like in that way, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Kerrigan and Falcons would be like chef's kiss. Anyway, last thing I just think we should mention this like in 2 minutes is Furia, right? Furia was kind of expected to lose. Actually, like my perfect scenario would be for them to lose against Pain, because then we would give Pain a route to go into playoffs, right? And okay, they won and then lost against Astralis. And I think there's a clip in Twitter or something like that it just mentions how Yakinder didn't even knew that this was going to be a LAN event. So like they really didn't give a fuck about this event. So
they did seem very DGF. Like they I mean they beat Pain because I think there was like reputation on the line, and they didn't go 0-3 because of their reputation. But like the way they played versus Astralis, that was not Furia. I know you're going to say
ridiculous, by the way, to get paid like millions and not want to show up to play a video game. Like, I don't know, man. That's one of those things that irks me about some players a little bit. Like, if you're going to say this stuff as an excuse, like, we weren't really that interested in this tournament, or like, you know, like you've kind of got to factor in the amount they're getting paid in that equation, because you can definitely phone it in if you're working at McDonald's. You probably can't be phoning it in if you're, I don't know, if you're a Queserato and your Kindar.
Evidently they can.
I mean, I think more like, I don't want to say just, because just is not like the word here, but a more fair assessment would be for them to just have like withdrawn from the event, because they clearly didn't want to play without Fallen, and Fallen had told Furia from like the beginning of the year that he was not going to be available for this specific date, and that's just the second time in like 20 years that he does that. So I mean, give the guy some leeway, right? Just withdraw for them from the tournament where he can play, and just let others do their thing, you know. I don't know. Yeah, that's just my opinion. My candidate for hot seat this week is FaZe. I just think that like we can really jump this conversation. FaZe is reaching critical mass, and I just don't think that they have a lot of time before something explodes or someone kills themselves. I don't know. FaZe is looking very like bad in the last few events. Like, it's not even 1 or 2 events, it's like 4 or 5, and they are like, what's their ranking right now? I mean, I think they're still like in the major run, but they are like
But
approaching.
they're having to go to Dracula.
Yes. Also, like I think it was yesterday that I sent the tweet to you guys. They're going to play the BC Masters along with G2. No. Like they're just trying to farm some VCR points just to be able to go to like the major and stuff. And I think that's just sad because they, like, FaZe used to be this sky high team that no one else should be able to compete against, and now they're just like something on the side of the road, like roadkill, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's exactly as you mentioned, right, with FaZe. I think for me, FaZe's timeline goes like this. They were sort of starting to struggle. Then it hit the Austin major. They signed Simple. They had so much hype around them when they were going through that major, and obviously it flopped at playoffs. They didn't sign Simple. They ended up having to pretend that they wanted Brokey the whole time, and yeah, you were so glad to have Brokey back and whatever. And ever since then, it's just been a complete like free fall up until again the other major, where it's like they had a bit of a dead cat bounce, and karrigan somehow miraculously got them to a final. But like I don't know, they've just been free falling ever since. If you ignore that, right? And I think unfortunately the catalyst for all of this was they had to just double down and sign Simple for my money.
I'm not sure that was the fix. Like, I know Brokey's not great, but like, I don't think the fix was they needed a different AWP or such. Like, they're not even getting anything out of Frozen or Twist.
But they definitely were. Like, you've got mad recency bias when you say that, because think back to like pre-major. Like, Frozen and Twist were both still playing really well. Twist looked thermonuclear for a period of time. He looked so good. Like, they're definitely still serviceable players, but I think. Like, again, we spoke earlier about players phoning it in or whatever, right? Like, it's hard to think of FaZe as a team not wanting to phone it in because they just know that they don't have the firepower to do anything.
Well, that's the thing. They need to go to these tier 2 lands and farm points. But if they can't get motivated for Pro League and Krakow, and how are they going to be motivated for Dracula? Like, there's no way karrigan's going to be doing the prep work for, like, Focus. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just not.
You need a change of players. FaZe has been begging for a change of players. Like, yeah. I'm not saying the actual players themselves have been, though maybe, but yeah, you can just kind of tell that like their success hinges on them doing something.
But if I was a player and I've seen how FaZe have been playing, like say I was, oh no, this is far-fetched. Say I was a really good author. You look at FaZe and you're like, well, why would I join this team? They're calling like horribly. They're not playing well. Like, why would I want to be on a team that, for the most part, has only playing like 3 events a year? They're only trying for it. Why would I join a team where the IGL can't be bothered to do prep half the time? And I mean, that's just like how you described him before. It's like he isn't that invested in winning these smaller events because he's done his time. Like, if I was an AWPer, why would I join FaZe?
I mean, you do get to play with karrigan, right? That's a massive selling point. And I think, many AWPers would launch at that opportunity. Like, I don't know. I just think the problem is it's very evident that they aren't in the business of paying for players that could meaningfully change anything. So until they bite the bullet and like sell Frozen to Na'Vi or something, it's just going to be more free fall.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, the fix is obvious, but they don't have the money for it.
Yeah, I think that at this point, like, taking a look at their verdicts, which would be safe, warming up, and burning, I think FaZe is burning with not only the team, like the house, the whole city is burning. It's like Alexandria all over again.
They've been burning for 9 months with like one brief moment where they swallowed an ice cube at the major. They've been burning for a long time. They're in deep shit.
Yeah, and also like I just opened up the Draculan Google Sheets of who is going to be played that event, and they haven't paid yet their inscription, so I don't know if they're going to play Draculan season 6 rather. But like for that event, I am seeing Liquid. I am seeing Passion UA. I am seeing Foot. I am seeing Fnatic, Mont. Like there are some interesting teams here, apart from like I don't know Laser Cats with I don't know what the hell that is, but like nothing against Laser Cats, but I don't know who you are. Anyway,
these are some of the teams of all time.
Yeah. But yeah, so like FaZe is just sad to see from my point of view, and I really do hope that they fix themselves before the major, because they're always fun to see. And like I don't know if karrigan has that much time still in him to be playing tier 1. I would like to see him play well and win one less big event. I don't know if that's going to be. Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't know if that's going to be with this FaZe roster. You know, like just take the guy to Falcons and just let him do something before retiring or something like that.
I desperately wish, this is a bit of a side tangent, but I really wish Liquid, G2 and FaZe would just like smash their rosters together and just shuffle it up a bit, because I feel like amongst those three teams, maybe barring like Orpers, you've got pieces to cook there. Like they're just on the wrong teams, if you know what I mean. Like G2 has too much firepower. G2 has too much like raw firepower, not enough supportive elements. Liquid has like some supportive elements, some firepower, but like clearly the personalities are clashing. No vibes. Which FaZe has in abundance, right? Like especially when they're doing well. And who's the final one? Yeah, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like you can essentially swap like 2 players from each, and you could make like maybe 2.5 competent rosters.
No, I want to see 3 rosters because I want the third one to be an absolute disaster roster. I want like Elige on his own with like Jacob, Ultimate, and Broke. Actually, give him Ultimate and Brokey. He's got 2 Orpers, neither of which are any good. Jacob, who's, you know, pretty raw, and then give him like Sui as his IGL. That would be a disaster roster.
Like imagine Shui and Naf go to G2. Like, is that not good?
I think that I think that if you add Navi to that bundle anymore. I think that you can have like really nice teams. Like Navi, FaZe, G2, and Liquid would, like, if you shuffle them all together, I think you would have some really good teams, actually. Okay, so that's good enough, I think. Let's just go forward with looking ahead, and let's wrap this up. I think this weekend will be a very fun weekend for Counter-Strike, because we will probably have, I think probably is the word, but we will have some champion which wasn't supposed to be here, apart from like maybe MOUZ Spirit, which is probably going to be the finals. But if any of the other teams win, I think it would be like really nice. And I also just I really would like to see Foot and Legacy doing well. Also Alexiv, because I just like the guy, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I think MOUZ being champion is also like where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be a semi-final team. Spirit are kind of supposed to be. They're supposed to be a final team, but they're not really. And then, like, this is like a playoffs of team who aren't really supposed to win, but Spirit are the most likely to win, is how I see it.
I'm not that excited for it. Like, obviously, I love seeing some of these teams finally play in a playoffs for the first time. Like, I'm excited to see, you know, Astralis get another run at it. I'm especially excited for Foot. I think they're, like, the big one that I'm like, well done. Like, you deserve being here, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, I don't know. I do just think it's going to be quite an obvious, like, Spirit MOUZ final, and that's that, really.
Okay, good. So I think we're kind of all in line with this. I just cannot see MOUZ losing to Navi. Maybe... Again, maybe they can lose to Foot, but I don't see them losing to anyone else in that bracket. Anyway, so thank you for listening to this episode. It's maybe a little bit smaller or shorter this time, but it was pretty fun. Remember to follow these guys in social media. They pump a lot of pretty fun stuff. Also follow ReadyGG_CS2. to see what we're up to. And we're actually building a lot of interesting stuff this past few days. And some really fire stuff is coming up really soon too. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And with that, I think I'm done. Any final comments?
See you next time.
No, I don't think so. See you next time.
Okay, so that's about it. Stay ready, stay informed. That's your condition, and I'll see you next week.